2021 has been the year of the musical. So, tonight, I'm going to give you my take on the most recent one, West Side Story. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo. As I said at the beginning of this review, 2021 is the year of the musical. We have been getting a plethora of musicals this year, from original musicals like Encanto, Annette, Vivo, some adaptations of lesser-known musicals like everybody's talking about Jamie and Tick Tick Boom, 10:30, 1990, back in it, what can you do? To adaptations of really well-known big phenomena musicals like West Side Story, like In the Heights, like Dear Evan Hansen. I mean, there are so many amazing musicals out there, and there are even more coming later, like Cyrano. There are still musicals coming. And not only are we getting movie musicals, we're also getting filmed versions of stage musicals that already exist, like Hamilton on Disney+, and this year we got Come From Away on Apple TV+. I think this is a really great resurgence for musicals. I remember growing up, the only musicals you could really go see in theaters were Disney animated musicals, which there's nothing wrong with. I love Disney animated musicals, but you didn't really see a lot of Broadway musicals being brought to the big screen. I think the most notable one growing up was Chicago, which obviously won Best Picture, but I feel like aside from that, I don't remember seeing a ton in theaters when I was growing up. I would always have to revert to watching Sound of Music or Mary Poppins or Singing in the Rain, my favorite movie of all time, on VHS or DVD because, there weren't all these musicals coming out. So to live in a time where all these musicals are so abundant, I'm just so grateful because I grew up studying musical theater, studying film, and to see this bridge kind of come together and merge the two and bring it to so many different households and theaters nationwide. You don't just have to be around Broadway. You don't just have to be in the West End. You don't have to be in one of these big cities with touring companies to enjoy musical theater now. Now it's just in the comfort of your own home or on the big screen. And I think that's something we can all be grateful for that, I certainly take for granted sometimes, and it's really amazing just to see so many friends that aren't even musical people talking about, oh, did you see the new Spielberg? Did you see Andrew Garfield and Tick Tick Boom? It's really, really great time to be living in. But as I said, we're here to talk about West Side Story, which is the newest one, obviously based on the 1957 musical of the same name, with music by Leonard Bernstein, one of the best scores of all time. Undoubtedly, it is just a sensational score. And of course, lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, who we lost recently. It was a very tough loss, but I think his heart is woven into every single lyric in this thing, and it really carries on. It carried on back then in the 50s and the 60s, and even now today. Hold my hand and we'll halfway there. Hold my hand and I'll take you there. West Side Story's origins start way back in the 1500s with Romeo and Juliet. This really is a tale as old as time, as Miss Potts from Beauty and the Beast would put it. The tale of Romeo and Juliet is such a great outline to fill in with so much imagination, and West Side Story was a really great reimagining of the Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers, two rival families. We've seen it with The Lion King 2, where you have these rival families and this star-crossed romance. Even movies like Romeo and Juliet, which I did not see, but its origins come from the same place. It really has stood the test of time, and West Side Story is probably my favorite interpretation of Romeo and Juliet, because not only do you have this star-crossed romance, not only do you have these two rival families and all the tensions there, but you bring a real sense of culture and political commentary into this piece as well, because you have two separate families, and one of them being a white family or white community, and one being, these immigrants, Puerto Ricans, who don't feel like they're completely accepted in America, but also want to make their mark in America, want to embrace what America should be. It never gives you a definitive side to root for throughout the entire thing. Both sides make mistakes. Both sides do great things. Both sides show off some really great singing and dancing and provide some great musical numbers. So it really is a really interesting use of that Romeo and Juliet template, that star-crossed lover template, to tell an even more relevant story, especially in 2021. People are asking, why is this movie being remade? And I think it's because in 2021, we can look at a story like this and really apply it to the times of today. I think there's a lot of division everywhere you look, not just politically, not just in terms of COVID, but just in the most basic opinions, like, is Eternals the best Marvel movie or the worst Marvel movie? Even basic opinions like that can get so toxic on places like the internet, and I think West Side Story is a good example of what happens when you let that kind of division and rivalry really brew too much to the point where it just bubbles over in the pot, and then learning what the repercussions are once you reach those final consequences and once you kind of cross the line too far. And that's what makes this such a timeless story, not just the Romeo and Juliet template, but the West Side story itself, why it is retold, why it is performed on so many different stages, and why it is reimagined by so many different directors. Steven Spielberg obviously brings his A game to this as the director. It's clear that he's wanted to make a movie musical for so long, and it shows because he pours so much love into every single shot and frame of this thing. And you can really tell that he wants to remake this for a purpose. He doesn't want to just rehash it to be like, oh, I want to make a musical, I want to flex a little bit, so like, yeah, I'll do West Side Story because that's a pretty popular one. It's got some good tunes. I can, pull in a lot of great Broadway actors, do some great spectacles, and call it a day. No, it feels like he actually has something to say with his piece, especially in the context of 2021 or just this whole time period we're living in general. The original is not perfect. I love the original because I love the music, I love the story itself, I do love the style of choreography, but there are some glaring issues, and I did talk about it last month on my show Picture This, where we went through every single year of Oscars history. We did talk about 1961 last month, and we talked about West Side Story. Me and my co-host Chad Webb, we talked about some of the things that really worked and really don't hold up about West Side Story, and two of those very glaring issues, one being brown face and the other being lip syncing. And as a performer, I have always believed that the people who are singing the songs should be the ones we see on the screen. Why would you waste so much talent out there just to have an A-list who can't sing lip syncing with someone singing behind the curtain? It's why I love Singing in the Rain, because it makes it very clear that the times are changing and we can really embrace these voices who do have what it takes to sing, act, and dance at the same time. It's like people who can pat their heads and rub their bellies at the same time. Why would we get two separate people, one who can do this and one who can do this, when we can have the same person doing them at the same time? Like I said, the brown face was another element of the original that didn't work so great. Obviously, they don't make a mockery of the culture in the original film, which is why it doesn't bother me as much as some other films that really do mock the cultures they are, painting their faces to look like. But again, having more authentic representation in the cast does make this feel just more authentic in general. It makes it feel truer to the Puerto Rican experience, and it really does emphasize the conflict better. I think it's easier to watch, it's easier to stomach because the casting is authentic, because the singers are actually singing the songs, actually dancing the dances, and I think that is just one of the reasons why it needed to be remade. Not because it's a timeless tale, which it is, not because there's something else to tell visually, which there is, and he does, but I think mostly to get rid of some of those dated aspects of the original and bring a new light to these things. I think that is one of the first and foremost most important things about why this is getting remade and why you should all seek it out, because I think even people who are fans of the original may find themselves falling in love with this all the same, but then having those slight elements changed could honestly push you more toward liking this even more than the original, and I honestly found myself liking it a smidge more too. This time around, I didn't have to forgive the fact that there were white people in people of color roles, because there weren't. And I didn't have to forgive the fact that there were people not singing their own songs when everyone was singing their own songs. And I think that really does do a great deal in enjoying this film, even more so than the original times. The use of Technicolor is really what is most vibrant about the original, and just the way everything is so dreamlike and so entrancing. But I think Steven Spielberg really wants to put his own spin on this story and to really differentiate himself stylistically, and he does. There are obviously moments of dazzling color, especially in The Numbers America and in the dance at the gym. So many just vibrant sequences, but when you get to the actual streets themselves, it's a much grittier, much more grounded depiction. The set pieces feel more lived in and broken down, worn out, rather than these super stylish set pieces that we might see in the original West Side Story. And that's why both films are great to compare, because there are great aspects about the original and there are great aspects about this design wise, and they are so different that it doesn't feel like this is a rehash and a shot for shot remake like some other remakes that we may have seen in the past few years. This actually has something to say that is different from the original, even while keeping the same integrity of the story, but presenting it in a different way that just creates a different tone at times, but as I said, while keeping the same heart and soul of the original.
Tonight is about family.
The musical numbers are all terrific. I love how Steven Spielberg knows exactly what to capture in each musical number, when to make the cuts, when to take the pans, when to focus on this character or that character, and it just shows a maturity behind the camera. Not to say that other directors this year who have filmed movie musicals haven't done that. I've really enjoyed most of the movie musicals this year, but it does sometimes feel like when transitioning from stage to screen, some of the musical numbers, some decisions are made that are a little awkward, but here it just feels like everything is just working like a well-oiled machine, to the point where you sometimes forget that you're not just watching a stage production because it all just feels so alive in your face and beautiful and colorful, and it really is magical. That is the word I would use to describe this film, is magical. And going in, I knew the music would be magical. I knew some of the casting would be magical because I'm a fan of a lot of these people from their Broadway credits, which I'll get to in a sec when I rattle off this dynamite cast ensemble. But I was just really, really swept away with the visual that Steven Spielberg brought to this, and the way he recontextualized some things to make them even more impactful dramatically. It's really a fascinating piece. And I also have to commend Tony Kushner for his script, because like I said, when you want to adapt something that is so, you know, cherished, it has won so many awards already, like how do you differentiate yourself from the original? And I think one of those huge differentiations was the use of the Spanish language with the sharks. Having the sharks speak in their native language, it felt like we were actually watching these characters as we would in their homes, in their social gatherings. You know, they would be talking in their native languages, and this is something that obviously in 1961 they were looking for the American audience, and they said, well, everyone's going to speak English. But I think here you get a lot of sequences, full scenes that are told in Spanish, and there are no subtitles, because I think it's also important to realize that in life there are often no subtitles. And I think it's great to show that authenticity, but then also kind of create that division, to showcase that division even further by having half of the cast speak in that other language. I think it's really, really amazing and smart choice, and I think Tony Kushner took a script that was fine as is, like it's a really good story, but kind of just sunk even deeper into the dialogue to give us just a more authentic depiction of these characters, and to really raise the stakes and the conflicts even more because of how true the words and the dialogue were to these characters that we would see if we were watching this in real life.
This is my first time in New York City. I want to be happy here. I want to make a life, a home.
It's time to get into the performances, because the performances are really what make or break a film, especially a movie musical. Like I said, if they aren't singing well, you're gonna lose interest. I mean, it's just gonna happen. You look at Les Mis. Russell Crowe doesn't sing well, people bash that movie. Everyone else in that movie, I think, sings really, really well, but because one person is off, it ruins the whole thing. Here, I don't think there is a weak link. I think the only weak link you could point at is Ansel Elgort, and I don't even think it's because of his singing. I don't think he's particularly bad. I think it's just in the context of all these other Broadway performers, he's obviously the least trained, but I didn't mind it. And I think his numbers, while not the most exciting numbers in the film, are still brought to life with that Spielberg flair, to where even when he's the only person on screen and his vocals aren't the most interesting thing, there's so much else interesting happening around him, and the moments that are created, even when the singing isn't the best, are still very special. You have Broadway veterans like Ariana DeBose as Anita, David Alvarez as Bernardo, Mike Feist as Riff. These three are just powerhouses. They dance, they sing, they give their all in the acting. I think Ariana DeBose specifically runs away with the film in the third act. I said the same about Rita Moreno in the original. I think Anita's character just has so many amazing moments in that third act, but there are moments that are even added to this film that give her even more to sink her teeth into. There is a moment where one shot just made me cry, and then for the rest of the film I was just consistently just wiping tears off my face, because it was just this constant flow of everything happening one after another, just piling on top of one another. It was just a cry fest for the whole last 30 minutes, and honestly I give a lot of that credit to Ariana DeBose, who really kick-started that waterfall and that chain reaction of crying. I really commend her. She gives my favorite supporting performance of the year, hands down. She's incredible.
Oye, Javi! Ponle fuego! Vamos!
But I also have to commend Rita Moreno, who did play the original Anita and who plays Valentina in this. It's really great to see someone who is that bridge between the two separate sides. You have two separate sides who are constantly fighting one another, and she's kind of like that moral compass in the middle who kind of sees both sides because she has lived that style. She was a Puerto Rican woman who married a white man and had to kind of face the same similar judgments that Maria and Tony are facing in the movie, and she's able to kind of be the voice of reason. And also having her sing the song Somewhere, it is my favorite song from the film, from every iteration I've seen of West Side Story. It's my favorite musical number.
Time to learn, time to care.
And the fact that they gave it to Rita Moreno to sing. It just feels like a great moment for her as an actress, and just looking at her whole arc from the first West Side Story to this West Side Story, because she is so iconic and she was made so iconic by West Side Story. But just in the context of the film too, it makes so much sense that she would be the one singing after all this climactic stuff happens, and you're kind of on the come down from everything that's happened and all this intense drama, and she's just kind of singing this beautiful song as all this other stuff is happening around and the chaos is kind of bubbling to the finale. It really is a beautiful moment, and she, I think, could also be up for an Oscar. She wouldn't beat Ariana DeBose for me, only because Ariana DeBose was just in more of the movie. I got to see more of her, but Rita Moreno, in her smaller screen time, made such an impact, and I would not be surprised nor disappointed if she also gets Oscar nominated. But I think it's about time we talk about Rachel Zegler, because she was the unknown. She was the one who Steven Spielberg wanted to personally introduce to the world. He didn't want anyone else to be the one to introduce her. He wanted to be the one to say, I am the one who gave her that star-making role, and good he did, because this is a star-making role. Obviously, you expect Ansel Elgort to bring the acting chops, because you saw him in stuff like Baby Driver. You expect these Broadway performers to bring their all, but Rachel Zegler, being someone who has grown up doing music and musical theater and just being a performer, but has never done it in Broadway or in film, and to just see her totally transform this character and immediately hook you from the first moment, from the first glance, before she even speaks. That whole opening sequence at the dance in the gym, when you first see her and Tony in the same space, and they're seeing each other for the first time, and there's this moment where they meet and it's just silent and they're just dancing to music, and it's one of the most profound moments of the year. And I think Rachel Zegler just gives such a beautiful performance. She is an incredible singer, which we all kind of knew just looking at her social media and hearing her sing.
Tonight, tonight.
Her acting met her singing chops. I mean, it was completely well-rounded in her acting, singing, even her dancing. She doesn't dance as much. Obviously, her and Tony, they sing more while everyone else dances kind of around them at times, but she was dancing still in the movie, and she did very, very well. Like, she did not miss in this film. Like, she hit everything perfectly, and I really, really am proud to see someone so young step into those shoes with such a confidence, and to see her just shine amongst this ensemble of really seasoned Broadway vets and even some seasoned actors like Corey Stoll, like Rita Moreno, like Ansel Elgort, and to really stand out and be such a favorite of so many. It's really, really impressive, and it blows me away, and I cannot wait to see what her career brings. I know she's in Shazam 2. I know she's going to be in the live-action Snow White, and I think Snow White is the perfect role for her, because the whole time I was watching this, I was like, Disney princess. She's a Disney princess, but she's more than that. She's not just this bubbly, happy-go-lucky girl. She has some really, really amazing second act and third act dramatic moments that make for just a heart-wrenching performance and just one of the best performances of the year. I really, really love this movie. It is a timeless tale, told very, very well, so beautifully shot and well acted. I really do recommend it, especially if you're on this musical high like I am. I think it deserves all the eyes it can get, especially in the midst of so many big movies like Spider-Man No Way Home, The Matrix, all these things coming out that are definitely going to overshadow it in theaters. I really do hope it finds more of an audience, because I do think it's important for musicals themselves to be more represented. It'd be great if we had all these musicals coming out every single year. It's very rare that we get one musical, let alone, how many did I mention, like 8 or 9 or 10. It really is amazing to see this art form just really flourishing and just thriving on the big screen, on smaller screens. If you can't get out to theaters because of obvious reasons, COVID and all that, I understand, but I do implore you, when it is available to you in any way, get to see it as soon as possible, because it really is a very special film. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Subscriptions really, really help the channel grow. I'm hoping to hit 200 very, very soon, and then after that, I'm hoping to take off, hit 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, all the way to the stars. I really, really hope to hit those goals, and you guys can really be a great help in doing so. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see my Spider-Man No Way Home review, I know people's spider senses are tingling, saying, when is your review going to come out? It will be coming out Monday on my podcast, Marvelous Movie Mondays. It'll be a full spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, don't check it out, but Spider-Man No Way Home review will be coming Monday. Hope you all check that out, and thank you again for watching this video. Stay safe out there. Please be careful. Please be kind to others and enjoy the holiday season. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.